Welcome to a new podcast where we're breaking through and breaking it down with a new girl. Your host, Dawn Piercy. Welcome to a new podcast. My name is Dawn Piercy. I'm your host, and I am so excited to bring to you straight from Nashville, Tennessee, the one, the only, Cherie Oakley. Cherie, it's great to have you on a new podcast. Now, she's a musician. Not only is she a musician, she did her first album at 4 years old. Okay, 4 years old. And you may recognize her from The Voice. And she was on Team Christina. So it's great to have you with us. I hope you're well. And
yes.
So now I wanna go back to, I would say, all the way to your childhood, but from the beginning, what you can tell us growing up. I know that you've been singing and dancing and acting and musical theater and regular theater. What was it like for you growing up? Did you have a routine? And tell us about all the way up to the time, songwriting and to The Voice. We want to know.
Well, I started singing the time I started walking. Everything kind of went hand in hand. My mom said the minute I could form words, I was singing and humming tunes. And I grew up in a musical family. My parents met in the theater, and so I watched them perform before I could, function as a independent little human being. And so it was ingrained in me. They say it's in your blood, and I think that's really true. So I grew up watching them, and according to my parents, I was begging to sing. I was begging to get up on stage and sing, and asking them for the microphone. And there was absolutely no fear of an audience. There was no fear of learning lyrics. There was no fear of anything. And so it was like, okay, fine. So I'm 3 years old and singing, and I just loved every second of it. And so we did an album together when I was 4, and I sang a couple of solos on that. And it was something that I did all of the time, from church to church. My dad would listen to country music, and when he wasn't listening to it, I would sing 24/7. When he was listening to it, I would sing right along with it. And I didn't even realize that I was writing anything at that time, but I was always coming up with my own songs and original songs and things like that. From the time I can remember, I was spotted by an agent when I was 5, and got signed with the talent agent at 5, and then signed with a manager in New York at 5, and started getting called to do commercial auditions, movie auditions, theater, just everything. And because my parents had met in the theater, we would sing in the mornings, and then at night we would do these big theatrical dramas and musicals and things. So it kind of just was all at once for me. I never really thought of anything separate from singing. I did acting, but acting was always in conjunction with singing, and I made up my own songs, and that was always in conjunction with singing, and everything just kind of went together. So I did The Voice. I had moved to Nashville at that point. I was on a tour, and literally the bus stopped in Nashville, and I got off, and that's how I wound up in Nashville. I hadn't dreamed of coming to Nashville. Nashville wasn't really even on my radar of like places I want to go and like make it big. I had already had a really long career.
Right.
Which sounds ridiculous. But I had a career as a child actress. I did a lot of theater. I had a career, growing up, I sang anywhere. People would pay me to sing at banquets and weddings and, funerals, unfortunately, and, just anywhere. So I had this sort of long career that I'd already built up. And then I came to Nashville, and songwriting was a huge thing that I didn't I didn't know very well, and I realized was a big part of the music industry here. And so I started diving more into that. It started in Christian music, and then opportunities just started opening up like crazy in country music. And so I started writing more and more in country music, and then I started touring with Carrie Underwood, and I started touring with Gretchen Wilson. I toured with Gretchen for almost 5 years, and wrote a song for me, actually, that I had a deal at the time that was happening, but it wasn't finalized. And then that's when we wrote a song that Reba wound up cutting. And everything started crumbling with my deal. And I thought, oh my gosh, I've lost it all. And here I've got this song, and I need a song that's going to be something. And I gave the song to Reba, and then I wound up doing the voice, like writing with all of that, which was kind of crazy because at this point I had done Star Search already when I was a child.
I remember watching that. Oh my gosh, I love it.
So that's what I mean. Like I was kind of like, well, I've already kind of done this. Like I've been there and done that with different things. I was like, I don't really want to do another reality TV show, singing competition. But the way that it opened up to me, I didn't go and audition for it. I didn't stand in line or anything like that. I sat in my kitchen and I Skyped with someone before a dentist appointment, and then within like 24 hours or something, I was flown out to LA, and it
that
just
is
all
awesome. That is awesome. How was it being on Team Christina?
She was amazing.
Okay.
She was the last judge to be finalized. So when they flew everyone out there for that first season, they didn't even have their judges finalized yet contractually, and she was the last one. So I was out there when they finally announced who the fourth judge was, and it was Christina. And I was like, well, that's strange, because for so many years I'd had this odd comparison where people would come up to me and go, "You sound like Christina Aguilera," and so it was just kind of like, okay, this is weird. But I mean, it was a crazy experience. I think that everyone from the first season has a really, really special bond, because no one else got to experience anything like we did. We were the guinea pigs. They did things with us they didn't do with anybody else, because by the second season and the third season, they had things more figured out. They knew exactly how long they needed people to stay out there, and they knew just better how to navigate everything. With us, it was kind of like Survivor on crack meets music.
That's funny.
So it was a crazy ride, but she was really professional. She was really kind. She, crazy talented, but very down to earth. I mean, I really, really loved every minute that I was around her. She was just really great, really, really great. She emailed me a few personal emails, and I've saved them and, keep them forever. And, it meant a lot to me to get to.
Now, before The Voice... Oh, go ahead.
She was really awesome.
Oh, that's awesome. Before The Voice, I know. Well, it froze a little bit, and then it caught up all the same time. You went, and I was like, you said awesome, and I was like, yeah, that's awesome. Before The Voice, you wrote a song, "Turn on the Radio," and I believe that's the poster behind you, if I'm not mistaken. Tell us about Reba. Yeah. And is she as nice as everybody says she is?
She's nicer.
Oh.
Yeah, she is. She's, I grew up a fan of hers because, for a million reasons. But for me, I grew up in that generation where she was the queen of country. She was breaking all the boundaries. Every video was massive, a big production. She was the big, huge deal at the award shows. And I was really little, and very impressionable. And I remember watching her on television and hearing her on the radio and just going, wow. And then she started doing movies and all these different things. And so I really, and And so it was very surreal. You know, like I said, I wrote that song and I was really devastated because everything started crumbling for me. And then she kind of came into the picture in a very, I always call it a God kind of a way, because it just doesn't happen like that. You know, it just
Like a
doesn't happen that
godsend.
fast.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I didn't have a publishing deal, and I wasn't in the popular crowd. There's like a little writing circle of popular writers that all write together. Don't get in that circle, you don't get any cuts. And I wasn't a part of any of that. I was this outsider that no one knew. And she heard the song and wanted the song. And later I toured with Kelly Clarkson, and I found out that Kelly was very instrumental in her cutting the song, because Kelly heard it with her. I didn't know that. In so many ways, my life has like come full circle in all these weird ways. But to sit down and talk with her and be around her, not just for the number one, but then I was out on the road with Kelly. She came out a lot. I'm a bigger fan of hers now than I ever was. You know, she's classy. She is. You know, she's absolutely. I mean, she's confident. She's beautiful, but she's also very down to earth. She knows how to talk to a person and make them feel really important and really special, and that's a really special quality. She's just amazing. She's everything that you would hope she'd be, and then some.
That rocks. Like a bag of chips. I don't know why it made me say that. Everything you'd hope it could be in a bag of chips. There you go.
And a bag of
chips. Now, what can you tell us about your latest song, Work It, and when can we expect your next album?
Yes, so Work It is part of an EP, a small collection of songs that I've done over the last few years. It was inspired by being frustrated as a female in country music in particular, because I noticed I've done a lot of work as a background vocalist in the studio and touring, and then, you know, as a songwriter, and now as an artist. And I noticed in the last couple of years how fewer women were drastically affecting everything. And it was, you know, I was being called less into the studio. Men were now hired to sing my parts that I recorded in the studio on tour, you know, because they could kind of sing and play guitar. And so there were fewer females being used as background vocalists live. I would go in to write a song and I'd say, hey, I've got this great idea. And they turn to me and go, oh, no, we don't want to write a song for female. No, we're not going to do that. It was immediately next before anyone would even hear an idea. And it was really frustrating. And then I signed a deal as an artist. I was like, there's got to be something I can do. But I'm a really positive person. I feel like when you find something is really negative and really frustrating, it's like, what can you do about it? You know, you can sit there and be frustrated and angry, or you can find something that you can use to drive you to do something about it. And so I wanted to shine a light on a really negative issue in a really positive way. And I'm a huge fan of the way that in pop music, there's so many songs that celebrate women, so many songs. It's very female empowerment, you know, heavy. And it's a great thing. And we need more of that in country music, especially with so few females. We really need many female empowerment songs as possible.
Well,
but
see,
I know
you're like the first. You're the first female country music artist that I've interviewed, and you're right. When I look at country artists, there's, you know, you've got men. And it's great to see a female, and I love your videos. I actually watched that video today, so I can't wait for our audience. You got to check it out after the interview. I've placed the video, Work It, Cherie's latest video, in her bio page, so be sure to check that out. Now, do you have any tours coming up that we may need to be aware of?
Yeah, I'm in the process of working on everything. So we've got Work It. We've been pushing that. That's now available in gyms all over the U.S. and Canada. Radio Disney just picked up Work It, so I'm super excited about that.
Okay.
And I'm excited that it's getting the traction. I'm excited that people recognize that we need a song that just celebrates women and everything that women do in today's world. And So really excited about that, but now kind of shifting gears into what's the next single, exactly what is the release date, looking into all of that. And it takes a while to kind of line everything up so that you can have a great release for the next single. So we're looking into that, and I'm simultaneously booking gigs and just kind of doing it all. So if anybody wants to book me, go to my social media sites.
Right. And the links are in her bio.
Yes,
all in one spot. All in one spot. Now, when you sit down to write a song, I know that you said a lot of times you just go with it and you make these songs. But when you're writing them down, do you ever find yourself going back and say, should I fix this or should I move this? And how do you structure it? And do you have any tips and advice for anybody that might be, in our listeners that are looking, that are interested in songwriting and singing and all that good jazz?
Yes. I would say, to answer the first part of your question, it's every song is different. Sometimes I'll come in and I have just a small, part of an idea that I want to sing about. And then in the room, it develops into what the feel is and the melody and all of that will kind of happen in the room. Other times I'm way more intentional. And sometimes it'll even take me weeks or even months to kind of bring a collection of thoughts and ideas together. Because sometimes they're really deep and they're heavy and they're this and they're that. And I want to bring them in a way where there's something positive. And so that'll sometimes take me a while before I bring it in. Usually I always have some type of a melody to come in as well, either a verse melody or a chorus melody or something that can kind of at least set the stage along with an idea. But I always go back and I tweak. I always do. I always go back with a fine-tooth comb and I always go, does it make perfect sense? Could I beat this line? Could I beat that line? Is there something that is more clever or something, could I say this in a way that maybe is less deep and more understandable? So I always go back and I always tweak. And sometimes I do that several times. Sometimes I just do it once and there's only one or two lines that I go back on. Usually we'll do any tweaks and things before we do a final recording. But I say to anybody that is into songwriting or wants to get into songwriting or wants to get into music or anything, first and foremost, particularly about singing, you can never learn too much. If you've never taken a voice lesson, I strongly take a voice lesson so that you can learn proper placement, proper technique, especially when you're on a boat and you're in these really loud environments. You even need to learn how to speak properly so that you're placing even just your speaking place. Because, you talk all the time. It's like you can wear your vocal cords down just by speaking improperly. And so I don't know if you can tell, I actually give voice lessons as well. So I'm very, very big on technical and taking care of yourself and your voice. So I would say definitely take some good vocal lessons from someone that you trust is reputable, someone that you've looked up. A lot of times people do things online, so you don't have to find someone within a local area. But if you really want to get into music, go where it's at. If you want to do country music, find a way to come to Nashville. Nashville's a very relationship-based town, so come here and just sit in at some writers' nights and get to know people, talk to people. It's amazing how this town works, and it's one of my favorite things about it is that, everyone is open to meeting new people and embracing new people, and it's a really cool thing. But go where it's at. If you want to do theater, go to New York. If you want to do film, go to LA. You have to go where the action is. You can't stay in a place where there's just nothing.
Right. There's
for you and,
absolutely.
And
it takes
start writing. Dive in. Right. Listen. Pay attention to what is on the radio. If it's country music or if it's pop music, and pay attention. There's always sort of a rhythm to everything. So, like, you'll notice that nowadays people get to the chorus a lot quicker. So there's not these really long verses and really long pre-choruses. They jump right into the chorus. So pay attention to about how many lines are you hearing in each verse before they get to the chorus. Is it 3? Is it 4? Is it 8?
That's a good tip.
like that. Because if you want things to be commercial, just listen to the radio and pay attention to little things, kind of dissect them in a way where you can go back to your own work and go, okay, I'm noticing this is too long, this is too short, this needs more of this. And I think always, paying attention to what's out there, you can go back and tweak your own work.
I took a picture of us to advertise with. Yes, I did, audience. You'll have to go back into Instagram and look. So
like making a weird face.
No, I got it at a good angle. Don't worry. I was making sure. If there is one thing that you could change about the music industry, if you could, what would it be and why?
Oh, okay. Yes, if there was one thing right now I could change, and I hope that my answer will be different, like really soon. But right now, I would change all labels and publishing companies should sign equally. If you sign a certain amount of men, you should sign the exact same number of women. It should be equal. It's very unfair, and it's not even remotely equal. You'll run into so many labels that it's like, well, we have this many slots for men this year that we're signing. We've got one for a female, or 0 or 2. You don't find 4, 5, 6, 8
and there's
slots.
There's so many independent artists these days too. And for me, I'm a scout with Shared Success Music Group, Universal Music Group Distribution under Tiffany Gaines. And I have to tell people that labels, she's contracted with many labels, but labels and distribution is different too. And people need to understand that distribution is just as important as getting in the studio, because you want it to be heard.
Out there, absolutely. Yeah, that's what distribution is. It's getting your music out there. Yeah.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
So, and sometimes it's like, I hear a lot of people say, oh, we need a label. What about distribution? You also need, it's going to go hand in hand, but that is a very good point. I was even unaware that they only had certain specific places open for women.
Yeah, you dive into it a little deeper. It's not pretty. But you'll hear everyone say, yeah, it's terrible. There's just not enough women on radio. Well, of course there's not. If not as many women are being signed, and 10 times the amount of men are being signed, what do you think you're going to hear on the radio? 10 times the amount of men versus women. It starts with the people signing it that get it out to the major, the commercial radio stations. So we have to go to the source and fix what's going on at the source.
Yep.
And
get to the core of it.
Out, who's spinning stuff and who's not spinning stuff and who's whatever.
Now, I assume you're on most streaming platforms, but where can our listeners follow you on social media for those that are not on our platform and they're streaming, and where can they stream your music?
Well, I'm definitely on Spotify. I'm on Amazon. I'm on basically every digital platform you can have it on. I'm on, and every streaming platform you can have it on. I'm there. If you want to go find me on social media, go to my website, which is CherieOakley.com. And then my Facebook is Cherie Oakley Music. And Twitter is just Cherie Oakley. And then Instagram is probably Cherie Oakley. And that's actually what it's called. It's probably Cherie Oakley.
And and for our audience, that's CHERIE.
Yes.
Now, I wanted to ask, for our listeners and that are not on our platform, if you go to our platform, anewpodcast.com, click Cherie's feature photo, it will take you directly to her interactive bio page where you can check out her music videos, stream her latest music, and her interview is there too. And all the links to her social media. So that's all for your clicking enjoyment, of course. Now, if you have one thing that you could say to the world, what would it be?
Just one thing. Oh, I've got so many.
Choices.
I know. If I could say one thing in one word, it would be grace.
Grace?
Grace. Everyone deserves a little grace. Everyone needs a little grace. If we give each other grace and grace is given to us, what a much better world we would live in.
I love that. It's so simple, but yet holds such an impact. Grace. Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Well, in the moments that you have time to do, when you're not doing music, I don't know if you're doing anything else. Do you have hobbies? What do you enjoy doing?
Well, I have started teaching voice over the last 2 years, and it's something I really enjoy.
Okay.
So that's my spare time every once in a while. I don't do it every day. I don't have time to people that have hopes and dreams and jaded and and just love music and want to learn. And so I really enjoy watching them grow and being a part of that. I enjoy teaching all the technical things about, reading techniques and all of that. But what I enjoy doing, just chill, I'm a model home stalker.
A model home stalker? I used to do that too. I'm not going to lie. Go in and say, ooh, I love this. I could see my stuff here.
I do. I even asked for the paint colors of the houses, and I don't do anything with them. Nothing has changed in my house in years. It's not like I'm in the middle of remodeling my house or something. I just love it. It's so much fun.
It is.
Especially to go and just drive to all the model homes and check out, the new design tips, and they're just decorated so beautifully, and what are the trends, and it's like being putting yourself in HGTV. That's what it is for me. It's like stepping into that world. I stalk.
That's actually one of my favorite games is Design Home. When they got the home and garden televisions, they've got all the latest little trends and everything, and you get to design it.
I love designing floor plans since I was a kid. I'm just weird like that.
Me too.
I don't do anything with it, but it's just fun. I don't know.
I love it, love it, love it. Well, I want to thank you for being a new guest. It's been a blast having you on. And for our audience, if you like this episode, be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe so you can keep up with all the new guests. And if you feel fit to buy me a cup of coffee once a month for bringing you these episodes, you can on our Anchor.fm platform under a new podcast. Now, this podcast is available on iHeartRadio, Spotify, SoundCloud, YouTube, all streaming services. I think we're available: iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and so this is Dawn Piercy signing off, and Cherie Oakley. Oh, and Celebre Media TV. Yes, syndicated TV network. Can't forget them. So until next time, keep it real.